Yeah, we work with multiple different institutes, and if there is a need for integrating certain things in curriculum, how can we make curriculum more interactive? How can we include hands-on components in our courses? All different these type of things. If you want to collaborate with us, please feel free to reach out. We'll share a form later on where you can submit your interest on that, and then we can work with you on that as well. Research-wise, also, if you are working on say medical imaging, and there is a specific thing you want to know, if you want the research scholars to get ramped up on certain things pretty fast, so let us know. We can help the research scholars as well. So that's about like from our team what we do throughout the country. So if you are interested, please feel free to reach out on this. Now, in terms of basically now going back to uh, the MATLAB software itself. So as most of you might be knowing, so there are two aspects. One is the MATLAB environment. So most of the things which we'll be talking about will be in MATLAB environment in the image processing segment. And then there is Simulink as well. Simulink also helps in certain areas of model-based design or modeling certain things in a block diagram-based approach. So, I mean, as we go along, if you have used MATLAB for image processing, I'm specifying image processing because that's what we are focusing in this event. If you have used MATLAB for image processing, it will be great if you can put in the chat window if you have or you have not. It's okay if you have not, then also we can show you some of the basic fundamental things which can help you. So please feel free to use the chat window to say if you have used MATLAB for image processing at all. Okay, thanks for those responses. It's great to know. And then in terms of industry usages, it goes into multiple different industries, right? So it goes to automotive and aerospace. So this is overall in terms of MATLAB Simulink. It is used in all these different types of industries. So we work with all these industries in great detail, and many of these things also help us to work with academia to create industry-friendly curriculum. If an industry needs some things, then we can work on how a student can learn those topics using MATLAB and Simulink, so that whenever they graduate, it becomes easier for them to get jobs as well. So all these industries are there, and then if you look into more detail, there is medical devices, biological science, where the medical concept comes into the process, and image processing is probably there in all these disciplines. Image processing is like a skill that is good to have, and that is used for all industries, and specifically with the things that we have nowadays of machine learning, deep learning, it helps. It's ever increasing. Like in general, also for my case, as mentioned, I was in the mechanical domain, right? In the mechanical domain also, we were taking a lot of images, high-speed images, and then using those images for doing a lot of processing, segmentation and stuff, which helped in analysis of those data. And during my postdoc also, it was on biomedical devices, which helped in having images for medical applications, which I'll talk about as well. Now, if we go specifically in the medical imaging sector, there are multiple different areas where we are there, so which includes like digital pathology, ophthalmology, radiology. So all these things have different types of images which are being taken. A classic example nowadays for COVID-19 also, we had some applications where people were taking chest X-ray images of COVID patients and non-COVID patients. And the idea is, if there is a random chest X-ray image of a patient, and then just by analyzing the image, can we say whether that person had COVID or not? Right. So this is typically a classification problem in the machine learning world, what is called. But it's I mean, I'm just making it simpler in terms of like what it is. It's classifying whether the person has COVID or not. But if we look into the backend, it's essentially image processing, image segmentations on radiology images, right? X-ray. And we'll talk about some of these today and the next on the Friday's event as well. Okay, now where we come into the picture in terms of the whole process in a medical imaging sector is when an idea comes, right? How do we get the image? So first, for an image, we need to have an image, right? So how do we get the image? So that's the image acquisition part. Second, in the image processing part, where we do the algorithm, different sorts of processing we can do. And then as we go along, you will see that in MATLAB there are multiple ways in which we can do image processing. So the majority of the time what I'll spend today is this second step. Is there a question? There is a hand raised. If there is a question, feel free to ask as well. I'd suggest if you can ask the question in the chat window, that's sort of easier, and then we can probably have later on interactive discussions. So then the image processing part is, yeah, as I was saying, this is where we will spend most of the time. Um, and then going along, code generation part is an interesting concept. What we do in MATLAB in this area is typically once we do all the processing, we can generate the code as needed. Like if you need a code for a specific hardware, if you want to deploy the code on a hardware board, like say for example, it can be an Arduino type device, Raspberry type device, or it can be something like NVIDIA sort of device. So that's where the code generation come into the picture. And then these are more of what the industries use, because what industries do is when it is deployed on a hardware, then how can we scale that up, right? And so that has to be made in a faster way, and that's what rapid prototyping and deployment comes into the picture, so that it can be used for production. Specifically, if people are interested in things like startups, where you want to have a product and then you want to have like lab to market time reduction, so this sort of things also helps these area, all these three steps. So this I'll briefly mention at the end how this is done. This also we'll talk about, but majority of the time we'll spend today on this image processing area. Because that's where all the algorithms and segmentations, morphology, the things you are learning in this FDP comes into the picture. Okay, and this is also something which we call as verification and validation, because if all these steps are together, then what it helps is it helps to reduce the time to produce something. And we call it something called a model-based design, this V life cycle, which basically means things work faster in terms of production, and then it helps in all the steps going simultaneously. It's not like we do one step and then we do the other step and things like that. Now, that's what is good from an idea to production, which helps in making things faster. So these are the steps, right? The image acquisition, so where we get the image from somewhere, the processing part, the code generation, and then these are the things which we will talk about. Okay, so now going ahead, say for example, if we come to the first step, right? So first step is image acquisition. Now for doing image acquisition, there are a bunch of things which we can do. Right, so for example, how can we get an image? You can get an image from, of course, a camera. You can have images stored in some other places. Now, in terms of when you are using cameras to get images, one aspect is how do we do the calibration of the camera, like how much pixels correspond to millimeters. So there are, you can use scales and things like that. Also in terms of vision parameters, also like the I will come to those details later on, but it is important that we do some calibration for the camera. So that's typical. If you also have a is there a stereo camera? So for example, what happens in type of CT images, topography images is we reconstruct views, right? So in those cases, it is critical that the images that we take are synchronized between two cameras. So how can we do that? Using a stereo camera pair to compute depth and reconstruct 3D scenes. So how can we do those type of things? So briefly, what I'll go is I'll shuffle between MATLAB window and slides from now on. So this is, if you have not used MATLAB, as many of you have not used MATLAB, so just to make sure what we are talking about, maybe I'll just show you how all these things look like. Just ignore this, I'm just changing certain things. Yeah, so this is how MATLAB looks like, right? So here you can do like a equal to 1, b equal to something like a plus 4. So you can say c equal to b square. So you can keep on doing this sort of multiplication mathematical operations, and clears the memory. So this is the memory of the variables, and we'll show you multiple other things. So this is the interface, how it looks like, and then you can see there are a bunch of different apps here. The concept of these apps, we will again dig into this more detail, but in detail. But the concept of these apps is basically we don't need to write codes. It's a graphical user interface which we can use to do our task. So if you look into here, there is an area of image processing and computer vision, right? So maybe I'll just zoom a little bit if possible. Yeah, so there is image processing and computer vision. And then you can see there is a camera calibrator app. There are all other apps like color thresholder, DICOM browser, high spectral. So these are all image specific. So all these things become very, very crucial for all of you whenever you are working on images. We'll show some of these as we go along throughout the day, but remember this is the area which becomes critical when you are doing image processing in MATLAB. One of them is camera calibrator, and that's what we are talking about. If I have to calibrate an image in some form, right? So that's one of the critical images. So again, we are at this stage now where we are taking the image from somewhere, from a camera. Now you can take images from your webcam, from bunch of different other cameras. You can take basically the other type of sensors like this sort of thermal imaging if there is a need to do, and all these type of things. And then there are most of these hardware for camera are compatible with MATLAB. Okay, maybe I can use the chat window again. If anybody has acquired images using any camera into MATLAB, for people who have used MATLAB, like anybody tried getting images from any hardware to MATLAB, right? It can be your own webcam also. If you have used webcams, webcam is an inbuilt command also in MATLAB which you can use to access your own webcam. And you can use a lot of different objects which exist for different type of cameras. Okay. Right, so that thing is pretty straightforward. Like if you have a camera and then you can directly get that image into your system, and then all this type of protocols are supported, right, by which you can export the image to MATLAB. If you have used, it will be great to know like what sort of camera you have used. It will be helpful for us also. Rajesh sir, if you can mention like what sort of protocol or what camera you have used to get images, which is this version of MATLAB. Currently, the version I was showing is 2021, which is the latest one. So every year there are 2 releases, right? So this year, the first release has already come, 2021. The next release will come in 2021B, which will be in the September timeframe. Laptop webcam, how to import in MATLAB. Okay, we'll come to that. Once there are multiple different ways to import. Now in terms of manufacturer specific, again now I'm going a little bit on the biomedicals part of it. These are all different type of manufacturer specific support which is there. This is in the medical world. So these are typically cameras which are used for different type of cameras integration. We have worked with all these things. Recently we have done something on Basler as well. Basler works pretty nice. So the way this works is basically you need to just have a camera as an object. And also if you are not sure about something, like say for example, if I have to find out what sort of cameras I need to have integration with MATLAB, there are ways by which it works pretty easily, by which you can find out. Yeah, so this in terms of MATLAB toolbox, this is supported by image acquisition toolbox. So just to give you a sense of how MATLAB looks like, inside MATLAB, as you can see, there are all different type of applications, right? So there is optimization, curve fitting, controls, 5Gs, audio. So it supports a lot of different type of domains, right? Now, the interesting thing is all these are part of different toolboxes. The concept of toolbox is, say, for example, if I am doing solving a differential equation, right? So if I'm solving a differential equation, we are using symbolic mathematics. And if you're doing symbolic mathematics, then the concept we are using at the back end is we are using symbolic toolbox. Okay, so like this, there are toolboxes for everything, and then the toolbox we need to use whenever we are using image acquisition is image acquisition toolbox, which Mona Lisa put the link in the chat window. Thanks for that. So I'll just show you one thing. So there is a camera link support here for image acquisition toolbox. And the way that works, I'll put this link as well. You can see here all these different type of cameras are there, which you can just integrate pretty straightforward way. And then if you want to see, for example, how to integrate a baseline camera, you can just click on this and you can see that it just works. You can see how it works in terms of like these things. So and then if you go into the getting started page, you will see how the this commands work and all these type of things work. So it's and again, in MATLAB, it's a high level language, so there's the reason for writing codes a lot is not there. So we can do it in a pretty much like you have all the steps here. So you can go to the hardware browser, refresh image acquisition, and then this camera will just show up, and then you can just take the image. So it's not like you have to write codes. It's sort of like, you know, an app in Android type things by which you can do all these things. Okay, so this is one aspect of how do we get the image. The other thing is when you are doing all these images, there might be, because nowadays there are a lot of cases where you might not need an image. What that means is there are a lot of databases which contains a lot of images. So for those cases, you can also, because as we know from images, that's something pretty heavy in terms of space, right? It's computationally heavy. So if you have like thousands of images, it becomes difficult to like read all of them separately. Right, so there are ways by which what we can do and to read these images and work with them in a memory efficient way. And we can, for again in the medical sector, we can load this different type of medical images, which starts from DICOM. We will talk about it in our Friday event. But in general, all these different type of images can be taken in MATLAB. Okay, I'll go slow as well. And then there are multiple ways by which we can take images from databases, which is like a store where maybe your images are stored. So we can get that image from that databases. There are commands like image data store, which helps in reading a lot of different images together. If any of you who are users of MATLAB and then you are facing difficulty in reading a lot of images, let us know, because these things can help you to work with a lot of different type of images. You can use this parallel computing structure as well. So parallel computing helps in parallelizing operations. Which saves time when you are doing a lot of different processing. But the concept overall remains the same. If you have images in a cluster and if you want to read them in a memory efficient way, there are ways to do that. And that can help. So when you are accessing the images, one is through the camera integration, the other one is from a file server or a cluster where you have all these things saved. So this is that part by which you can take images from any database that it's already stored. Okay, so now comes the important part. This part does not, I mean, the image acquisition part it's like you have some set points, so you just follow them and then you get the image. The important part comes up is how do we do the processing? How do we do the image processing part and the visualization part? So that's where we will spend almost the rest of the duration now. Okay, so I'll go over to MATLAB now. There is nothing in here. I'll just show, because many of you are also starting up on image processing. You mentioned you have not done image processing in MATLAB. So I'll just start with something pretty simple to start with. I'll try here and then I'll go to other areas. So say for example, if I have to read an image, right? So if I have to read an image, the command we need to use is called imread. Okay, so I'll just read a random image which is there in MATLAB already saved.
Sir, please just tell us how to import image to the MATLAB.
Import image as in from where, ma'am?
From anywhere, sir. If it is in MATLAB, we can use imread command. But if it is not in MATLAB, then what is the situation? Means how you can take that?
Yeah, so basically, first of all, it's in like your image needs to be there in the current file. Like say for example, if I take an image, Let me just, you can just Google, and then if you have some random images, let me try to, basically what you need to make sure is you have to have the image saved in your local file. So say for example here, I am in this folder. So in this folder, if I have my image saved in this file, in this folder, this is my local system. So, and this is where the system is. So this is my current file, the path of the current location, right? So I have to have my images stored in this location. This location is, as you can see, materials, deep learning, IPCV. So this is my current file.
Current path.
And so that's where we need to save the image, and then only IMRID will work.
Okay.
Because if it is not saved in this location, then it won't work. So first of all, if you have a bunch of images, those images need to be in the path. This is this by which, by when what we mean by this is the path. This is the MATLAB path, right here, and that is where my system is. So for example, in my current folder, if I go to that specific location, so this is the specific location, that specific location should have all the images. So that's how we basically make sure IMRID works. And once we have that, then we can use IMRID. Now I'm using this image which is already there when you install MATLAB, and then when you do IMRID, you can have this thing comes up. Instead of just giving image along with path, it will works. Yeah. So basically you have to give the path. So the easiest way is to have this thing go to the path here, or you can just specify the path and then be there. And then if you specify the path, that also works. Yeah, if you have to get directly from a website, that is also possible. So there is a command called web save. So web save is a MATLAB command by which it directs, you can give the URL of the website and it can save from there. So that also works. So there are a bunch of different ways. I'm talking about the easiest way is IMRID if it's there in your local folder. You can also directly create that camera object and get it from there. That also works. It depends on how you want to do it. That's basically, so thanks for that question of how do you get directly from website. So if you, there is a way if you want to take it directly from website, so you can take it like that way. And I talked about that data store concept. Data store is also another way. So data store, if you look into image data store, that is a command in MATLAB. So by which you can specify the location and then it will take all the images. So if you have 1,000 images, you don't have to do IMRID for all of them like this. So you can just say image data store and specify the path and all of them will be taken up. So that's, there are multiple ways depending on what you want to do. We can see how that can be done best. Okay. Yeah, thanks for that web save link. In MathWorks, do you have to log in? Yeah, that's you have to log in, and you can basically, there are multiple. We have something called campus-wide license now, which means everybody in the campus of an institute can have access to MATLAB. They can install unlimited copies of MATLAB. They can access MATLAB on the browser as well. So there is something called MATLAB Online. So that also works. So MATLAB Online, which is basically in the browser. So you don't have to have MATLAB installed in your system. So you can start using MATLAB in the browser. So all these things work in the browser as well. But for all of these things, you need to have a MathWorks account. If you do not have a MathWorks account, or if you are not sure whether your institute has campus-wide license or not, I'd suggest you can create your MathWorks account using your institute email ID. And everybody, I mean, if your campus does not have, you can use this to create the MathWorks account for everybody. So you can create it and you can access MATLAB trial for 1 month. But you can make sure if any of you wants to know more about campus-wide license, feel free to put in that feedback form, and then you will, our representatives will get back to you. Okay, so that's the login part. Now, say for example, if I take up this image, so IMRID is the command to read the image. So the once you read the image, Now the question becomes, how does this image looks like, right? uh, and also for people who have not used MATLAB before, this semicolon is basically where you suppress the output. So if I do not put a semicolon, right, and then if you put an enter, you will see that there's some huge matrices come up. Now what is this? Because at the back end every image is nothing but a matrix, and the concept of this matrix is, as you can see from the sizes, if you want to see the size of this matrix, so I can say size of I, it gives you the size, right? So this is 792 number of rows, 1056 number of pixels, and 3 means red, green, and blue for any color image. Right, so but how do we see the image? For seeing the image, we can use this command called imshow. So if I say imshow I, then what happens is you can actually see the image. While this comes up, yeah, the question on Octave. So there are certain things you can do in Octave, but in MATLAB there is a bunch of different other things. So say for example, all these apps are not there in Octave, and here we will, as we go along, you will see a bunch of other different things which will come up as we go more and more advanced and more application focused. Then very specific things come up where we use multiple inbuilt commands which helps in the application that we want to address, and that becomes easier in MATLAB. Okay, so now here we have the image, right? So this image is RGB, that's why we have 3 here. Now what does that mean? So if I have to see, you know, how this image looks like in different areas, so I can just click on certain areas and you can see this is the X and Y pixel, these are the RGB values, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now if I have to, you can do a bunch of different things with this image now, right? So that's the concept of what can you do with this image. Because even if you are taking images, like if you're using Instagram, right, in Instagram, if you are adding a filter on top of a selfie that you have taken, what is actually happening? It's actually happening is matrix manipulation. There is the selfie that we have taken is an image, the filter is another thing that we are superimposing on top of it. So basically at the back end, these are all matrices. Now, say for example, if I want to make this image RGB, from an RGB to a grayscale image, anybody knows the command? How can I convert this image to a grayscale image? How can I convert this RGB image to a grayscale image? So if I want to have this as a RGB,
You just type RGB to RGB numerical 2 and GRAY, Professor.
awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is an inbuilt commands where we are converting this RGB to a grayscale image. Okay. Now let's see how this looks like. You can see that it has changed from RGB to, I have to print the right one. So imshow gray, and then you can see this is a grayscale image. Okay, you can take an average. Can we take the average of RGB plane? Now it depends. So once you have the matrix, you can do a bunch of different, sorry about that, you can do a bunch of different things. It depends on what you exactly mean by average, because this is matrix, right? So if you want to take the average of the red pixels, you can do that. Like say for example, if I want information only the red, so this I image, it contains one matrix, so it contains 3 channels. So first channel contains information about red pixels, second channel contains information about green pixel, and third contains blue pixel. Now say for example, if I want to stop all my red information, what do I do? So what I can do is I can say I this 1. Now what does this mean? This means I'm accessing the image. This means all the rows, this means all the columns, and 1 means the red channel. So if I make this to be 0, okay, and then if we see the image again, then let's see how it looks like. So we had the image, and then what we did is we actually converted all the red pixels to 0. So we do not have any red information, right? So that's something which you can do. So that is depending on what we want to do in that RGB scale, RGB plane. So if you want to take the average of the red, average of the green, average of the pixel, that can be done. The other ways is also we can stop information about red, or if you want to have some thresholding there and you want to have pixels above a certain value only, So that is also possible. So once you have the matrix, you can do any kind of mathematical operations on that basically. So this is some of the things which you can do there. Um, and then so if I have the grayscale image, the other thing which we can do is we can also convert this to a binary image. So binary image means, so I'm using a inbuilt command called imbinarize. Im stands for image, binarize means binarizing the image. Now if I do that, now let's see how that looks like. So if I say im show ibw, then you can see this looks like this. So now what we have done is we have converted that binary image to a black and white image, which is called a binary image. The reason it is called binary, it is because it contains information about only black and only white. Right. And when you have something of the grayscale, that means it contains all the shades of black and white, right? So it can be 0, 0.1, 0.2, like this. It goes from 0 to 255. And then if you normalize, it can be between 0 to 1. So that's how we can convert images from RGB to gray to binary and these things in just single one-liner. Any idea about how did it convert this grayscale to a binary image? So basically if you look into these two, so this was one image, and then if I see the grayscale image as well together, so this is the grayscale image. Where is the binary image? Okay, let's have another figure, and here we can have the binary. So what I'm doing is I'm just having the binary image in another figure. And
You can use subplot, Professor.
Sorry, sir, I couldn't aim to bin. You can by comparing with
You can
threshold.
use, yeah, you can use subplot to display in the same window. That's what I'm telling. Sorry to
Sure.
interrupt.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so yeah, subplot comes in one figure as well. So like this, what we can do is we can have now if you think about the concept, like what is happening here, the concept is it's comparing with the threshold. That's the right answer. So basically if we look into this here, and then see the data tips, so you can see the intensity value. The intensity value starts from, like if I go to a darker region, it's closer to 0, so 75, 69 and this. And if I go to a whitish region, it's in the higher range, so it can vary between anything from 0 to 255. The more whiter it is, the closer to 255 it is. Now if I take a threshold, say for example intensities which has pixels which have like say 100, so if I make 100 as the threshold, so anything above 100 is white, anything below 100 is black, and that's why we created these things. By default this takes 1, but you can change it as and when we create. Okay, so now let's go to some more examples by which and some other interfaces as well. So this is like the very basics of MATLAB. Now let's see, I opened up something, it's called a MATLAB live script now. So what is a MATLAB live script? For the question on MATLAB cost, I would say please reach out to us. It depends on a lot of things, like what sort of toolboxes are there and things like that. So please reach out to us, send us an email, and then we will connect with you with the right person who can discuss with you on that. Okay, so now if I come to this interface is called MATLAB live script. Anybody has used MATLAB live script? You can put a yes if you have. The MATLAB live script is sort of, you can think about it as a Microsoft Word document where you can have MATLAB coding, right? So this comes up from the home MATLAB window. So from here, if you go to new live script, so this new live script comes up. So here you will have you can write text, you can have images, you can have equations, like this insert, you can see, you can put in equations and so on and so forth. And then finally what you can do is you can also save this thing as a PDF or a LaTeX files and things like that. So you can export to PDF, Word, HTML, LaTeX. So it becomes like a standalone report in that way. So this is one of that type of an example. So here we have opened up this this live script. So here what we are doing, whatever we have discussed. So as you can see, we can break sections, we can take in images, and then there is a bunch of things which we can do. So like the peacock, this is another image we are taking in. It's peppers, and I look here. This file extension is PNG. So basically inside MATLAB, you can have PNG images, you can have TIFF images, JPEG images, and all this type of format. So that is always what you can do. Now what we are doing here is we are multiplying the matrix with a intensity of 1.25. So we are just making it 25% brighter, right? So if you do that, that becomes like one liner code here. So we are just multiplying it to 1.25, and then what we see that the image becomes a little brighter. So that's some of the things which we can do. We can also resize the image. We can convert to grayscale. So these things we have already mentioned. We can convert to grayscale. We can binarize the image. So these are some of the things. We can have like only the bright parts. We can have certain specific colors if you want only reds, if you want only blacks, and things like that. So we will come to a little more about segmentation in a while, but this is like to get started on image processing. So if you have MATLAB installed, you can play with these images. So read these images and then start playing with them. Find out the matrices, just remove the red color, maybe remove the blue color or something, and so on and so forth. So these things you can keep on doing. Okay. Now say for example, we'll go to multiple different type of examples gradually. So say for example, if you want only the red color, so there are inbuilt commands like this. So if you can use that, then what happens is if I want only the first channel, so I say detect color of only the first channel. So this is an inbuilt command by which we can get the red information. Similarly, we can get the green information and so on. So these functions which you can create and use that as well. Now let's go to some more. We'll gradually step up the pace and then go to some more specific examples. Now here what we are doing, our job here is to find out the edges, because whenever you are doing image processing, edge detection is a very critical thing, and that becomes one of the critical applications even in cases of medical images. So after this I'll come to a medical images application, but the concept of all these things is if you want to do edge detection. Anybody has tried edge detection or want to do edge detection for any sort of problems? Okay, great. Yeah, if you want to do edge detection for your images, it will be good to know also. So if you want to, yeah, thanks for those inputs. So yeah, so edge detection is a pretty critical point. So let's see how that is done, right? So say for example, if I have this image, right? So this image is we are reading this image first of all, coins.jpg. Okay, now the way we can do edge detection in MATLAB is using this command called edge, right? Now there are multiple different type of edge detectors which can be used. One of them is called Sobel edge detector or a canny edge detector. So what we are using is we are using both of them. So we are doing one edge detection using the Sobel algorithm, one using the canny algorithm. And then we in one image only, so we are using this command called imShowPair. Here we are just putting both of them. So here we are just seeing both these images where we have detected the edges, one using the Sobel algorithm and one is a canny algorithm. Because if, for example, I don't know which algorithm will work here, right? So we just use it and then we see that this is how it does. I mean, we have to start from somewhere and then we can make it better as we go along. There are multiple difference. Like if I click on this Sobel, this edge, actually you can see there are multiple different parameters that we can put in for each of these commands inside if you click on right click and then go on help on edge, then what happens is this edge actually opens up in the MATLAB documentation. And this MATLAB documentation is a very rich area. So here you can see you can give the image, the method, the threshold, the direction, and so many parameters you can give. And all these parameters have a chance of making your edge detection better. Again, the way we can go to that documentation, you can search here edge, right? Or you can write here doc edge. So doc means documentation. So everything that you search here for documentation, then documentation opens up and you can do all these things here. Okay. Now here, so we are seeing all these images where we have applied these two algorithms for edge detection. Now, how does this thing work? These are based on some gradient thresholding techniques. So these are inbuilt commands. If you want to know more about the algorithm behind this, the algorithm is typically, it's basically based on a gradient. So what we are doing here is, as mentioned by previously by somebody, all these things are based on thresholding techniques. So at the back end, what is happening is we are basically doing a gradient of that. Say if you look here, so we are reading the image, converting them to a grayscale image, and then if I just run this, you can see this is the grayscale image. And then if I want to do a thresholding, and one of the interesting things in LiveScript is you can put all these type of interactive stuff. So this is like a slider. So if I go into insert, you can see that there is a slider that you can put in, all this type of interactive things you can put in. So if I change the thresholding value to 5, then you can see how this looks like in terms of how the thresholding is done. But if I increase this slider to all the way on the right, then you can see how the image looks like after the thresholding. Once this is done running, then you can see how it changes. So you can see how the changes occur if you change the thresholding value, right? Basically, it is depending on that thresholding technique, both Sobel and Canny filter. There are certain parameters that are different, which is giving rise to these changes. But if you have to do edge detection, the very simple way is basically using edge as to get started. And then of course there are multiple ways by which you can make it better, by changing the parameters, by manually intervening and changing the thresholds and so on. Right. Yeah, if you have any questions on edge detection or as we go along on any of these topics, please feel free to ask, please feel free to put in the chat window, and we can discuss on your specific problem as well. Okay, so this is one of this. Let's go and see what else we can do. Maybe I'll take over a medical application now. Let's see one of this in the slides area, what it refers to in terms of whenever we are doing image processing, right? So whenever we are doing image processing, we might need to do edge detection, which is part of segmentation, enhancement, noise reduction, and registration will come to that as well. And these are things which you can do on all different type of images. And we'll talk about a volumetric data in a bit. Okay, DICOM I'll skip for today, but we will talk about DICOM later, and thanks for that link as well. There is a lot of things you can do on DICOM metadata, and you can do that automatic way as well. How to read image in MATLAB Online, it's the same thing, exactly same thing, whatever we are doing here. So if you go to MATLAB Online and if you want to read the image there, it becomes the same thing of IMRID. But I think one of the question is, how do you put your image, the local file, the drive basically here, I mean the drive as in the file location. Once this opens up, I'll just show you here. Yeah, so whenever you open up MATLAB Online, your path is always at MATLAB Drive, right? So your images need to be in MATLAB Drive. And after you have that, it works in the same way. So it is IMRID only, or the data stores and web saves and whatever we talked about. So all those things work. But the concept here is having that file inside MATLAB Drive. So if I do IMRID, you can see that it will be the same thing that works here. And then I can say imshow of I. This will come up. Okay. Kaggle also, all this type of repositories work. So either Kaggle or any of this thing. The other thing is, how do you get access to this MATLAB Drive? So you can just search for MATLAB Drive. And then this actually gets yourself signed into MATLAB Drive, and you can upload images here. This also exists in your local system. So for example, for me here, there is Dropbox and then there is MATLAB Drive. So whatever I put in here automatically goes to this MATLAB Drive location. Okay. So feel free to use the MATLAB Drive. It's like a cloud service where you put your files and access that as well. Okay. Let's go ahead. Then what we will go into is more details into the area of segmentation. So let's take up an example and see what segmentation means. But in the concept of morphology and segmentation, so if you look into this, so this is the original image. So this is like a segmentation. So this is binary. We have been talking about these segmentation techniques, right? So whatever we are doing, like segmenting the different areas of the image based on the pixel values, is called segmentation. Um, so this is like the blue detector. So these type of things is what you can do in different ways. Now let's see other ways. So in terms of morphology, there are three things, rather two things which we can do, right? One is called dilation and one is called erosion. Anybody knows about dilation and erosion concept? Feel free to put yes or no if you have heard about it. Okay, yeah, this is some interesting things which we always need to go across in segmentation, in image segmentation. Great that all of you know. So I'll just quickly mention what it means and then we'll talk about how you can do it in MATLAB. So for dilation, so if I have this type of a pixel, right? So this pixel, if I do a dilation operation on this, what happens is, so this is a 3-0 line element, right? So this is a 3 element. So if you look around what is happening, so once this dilation element is going along, and after dilating, this pixel is getting dilated. So from that one, it's just expanding, right? So this is dilation. So this was the original image. And if we do the dilation operation on top of that using a line segment, so you can change line to other things. And this is a 3 pixel. So we have 3 here. So this is dilation. Similarly, if you look into erosion, what happens is this get eroded. So dilated sort of get expanded, erosion. So whatever it means in English, so dilation happens in dilation, dilation happens in erosion, erosion happens. I mean, it's like eroding the concept. So if I do this eroding, then this thing just vanishes. Okay, so let's take up one example where we will show these two concepts. This will be the medical example. So I'll take up a medical imaging example and talk about this. Let me go over to this thing. So the problem we want to do here is for detecting a cell, right? Again, we are using the concept of live scripts here, where we have explained the concept, what it means. So what we want to do, as I mentioned in the previous slide, we basically want to do erosion, erode and dilate. So this is our original image of the cell, right? So first of all, we are reading the image. And then when you are reading the image, so make sure that your cell, this is not inbuilt in MATLAB. So what I have to do is this image should be there in the current path, right? So after that, so this is actually, yeah, if it's there, then it will just read up. Now, once I have read that image, I'm also adding a title to it. So this title means here it's the original image. And then we are putting this text like this image is courtesy of this, because say, for example, when you're putting images in publications, you need to give the reference, right? So those sort of things, we're just putting it here. Now, what we want to do is we want to detect the, we want to find out this edge or this separate out this cell separately, right? So first of all, we are using the same command of edge, which we talked about earlier. And then using that, we are thresholding this. So if you do that, then this is the binary one. And then this is what it does if I use the edge command. Of course, we are not happy with this, right? So this shows like these things that are come up, which is not good. And also there are all these type of rough pixels, which we do not want, right? So these things we want to remove. And we want to make it like a clearly segmented object, right? So how can we do that? So that's some of the things which we want to do. We want to make sure that it's like half and half type of things. Now so that's where comes the operation of dilation. So inside MATLAB, if you want to do dilation, the command that we need to use is strel, right? So once we use this strel command, so what happens is it creates that element. So here we are using one in a horizontal direction and one in a vertical direction. So that's why one here we put 0 and here one we put 90 degrees. So it's rotated 90 degrees. So here both of them are line objects, and then we are giving 3 and the parameters to be 0 and 90. So these are the objects that we want to use. So after that, we want to do the dilation operation. So for doing the dilation operations, the MATLAB command is called imdilate. Im stands for image and dilate is doing dilate. So we just say imdilate, and then BWS is basically our image. So if you remember, the name of the image is BWS. So we say BWS, and then these are the elements that we are using for dilation, which we have created here. So now that we have dilated the image, this is how it looks like. Still we have certain pixels out which we don't want, so and then there are gaps here, right? So there are this black gaps which we want to remove. So if I have to fill those interior gaps, what we can do is we can use this command called imfill, right? So imfill means image fill. So basically what we want to do is we want to fill out those gaps inside. So we say we give the name of the image. So this is the name of the image now after dilation, and we want to give holes here. So this also you can put other parameters. So once we run this, then what happens is the internal holes are filled. So if you compare this image and the top and the bottom one here, the top one contains these black holes which we have put in, which are filled up now, right? So this is where what we have done is filling those interior gaps. Now I don't want this one. This one is also still an outlier probably, which we do not want. So what we can do there is we can use this command called imClear border. That means every image which is connected to this border will be removed, right? So this will clear the pixels which are in touch with the border. So if we use that and then run this, then you can see you have removed those things. So if you use this command called imClear border, then those pixels which are connected there, those gets removed. So that's what it is done. Now after that part is done, then you can do maybe a little more. So I have to make sure that I run the previous section when we go to the next one. And finally what we want to do is there are this small white pixels which we want to remove, right? How can we do that? There we can do an erosion, right? So we have used dilation previously to make it smoother. Now we can do erode. So now we are using not a line one, but here what we are doing is we are using an object which is of a diamond shape. This will help in this category. So that's what we are using, and then we are doing the erosion part, and then we have seen that this is particularly cleared out. So what we have done is we have done a bunch of different steps. So we started with this and we wanted to segment the cell. So first of all, we created binary, used the edge detection inbuilt algorithm, but that was not always working fine. And then we did a dilation operation. So the morphology thing came up. We cleared the borders here. We filled the holes. And then finally, we have a clearly segmented image. After that, you can do a bunch of different things. Like what we are doing here is we are putting it on the top of the original image. So you can use these things called overlay stuff, by which we can so once you have segmented that, you can put on top of your original image as well, right? Is this making sense? Does this will this be useful for anybody? You can put in the chat window. Does this make sense? Any questions, clarifications on this part? Okay. Yeah, thanks for the response. Hope it was useful. Feel free to try it out. And if you need this script, please feel free to let us know. We will share the scripts. That is perfectly fine. We can share this MATLAB scripts with you. Okay. Yeah, I would suggest please reach out to us over email later on, and then we can share the images. We'll share contact details and all towards the end. Yep. Yeah, we have around 30 minutes, so we'll talk about some other stuff and then we'll share all these things. Okay. So this is an example of this segmentation using morphological operations. Yeah, there are a bunch of other things which we can do using using these type of stuff. So say for example, creating masks, which we talked about. We can also do things like let me take one of these example where we can say, for example, if you have this type of images, like maybe multiple different cells, can we actually count the number of images that is there, right? So I'll take up one example on that. That is also a nice one. Let me go over to the right folder which I'm looking for. Yep. So here, if you look here, what we want to do, um, okay, so very nice questions. Maybe I'll take up one of some of them now. How can we apply this on multiple images like on whole folder? So we can do that in bunch of different type of ways. Of course, the idea is, of course, there are yeah, as mentioned, there are a bunch of ways to do that. Now there is something called inside these apps. Let me actually go over to this app. So you can see here there is something called image batch processor, right? So image batch processor is if you have a MATLAB function which you have created, like whatever we did, using this app you can apply this on multiple images, right? You can also use that image data store option. The image data store option actually can help you on accessing multiple images, and you can do on all of these images, but that requires a for loop there. So you can use a for, but that will be faster. Like if you read all of them using image data store and then use for loop, the easiest way is, you know, using this app called image batch processor. So by that you can apply it on a bunch of different images. You can obtain histogram from an image. So again, these things all help in your image viewer, all these things. So say for example, if I, you know, go to one of these apps, so these apps actually help you in a bunch of different type of things where you can do all this type of stuff. So let me actually show you with one of these images. Maybe let's say image browser, right? So if I go to image browser app, and then I can load up an image. If I have any image, let me see, folder. Yeah, so if you have a folder of different type of images, you can just select the folder here, and then you can do all these type of things on this. And yeah, currently this folder does not contain any images, so maybe I'll just show this and come to that question. So here what we are doing quickly, first of all, what we want to do is we want to calculate the number of grains here, which can be like number of cells or all these things as well. So the first step is we read the image, right? So we read the image and then we adding this text and stuff. Then we are binarizing the image, binarize as from a grayscale to a binary image. As you can see here, all this contains these small white dots which we do not want, right? So if you want to remove these type of things, you can use these things, right? So if you use this command called bwr open, then what happens is, you know, it clears up all these images that are that's those small white pixels. And then what is connected here is, if I want to count, I can use this command called bwconComp, right? What it does is it just measures like, so here we measure the 8, right? So once we specify the number of pixels, so what it will do is it will count number of images where we have these pixels at a stretch, right? So the algorithm here, what it is doing is how many connected pixels are there. So these are all connected pixels, and whenever it is going from white to black, then there is a change of pixel value. So it is connecting, it is calculating the number of connected pixels, which basically is the number of these objects what is there. Okay, and then the next step is some of these things are like double connections, like two both connected. So that what we can do is we can also find out like how many of them are connected to each other. So by that way, what it helps is if there are outliers and things, that also you can do. And then as mentioned in the link, thanks for that histogram image. So using that sort of processing also you can do. You can calculate mean, median, standard deviation type of things, and you can also calculate all these type of number of structures that are there. Okay. The how if an image has circles, yeah, you can collect you can connect count the number of circles as well. I think there was one, actually there is one on in our shipping example, which is the documentation. So here if you just you know, search for circles, or rather count circles or something like that, let me try to find out. there was one example which we can do, which is specifically finding out the, I think it's based on coins. Um, yeah, so detecting circles. So this one, so this is actually a nice example where you take the, this also shows like if you have a camera connected to the server, right? So what it is doing is, it's, this is also an inbuilt command. So it is taking a camera which is connected to the server, and then this is taking this image of the camera. And now what we want to do is we want to find out the number of circles here. So the command to do that is imfind circles. So from this, we want to find out the number of circles. So for that, what we need to do is using this command called imfind circle, and this is the center and like the radius of the circle. So this is the minimum radius of the circle, this is the maximum radius of the circle in pixels. So once we do that, it will give you like this all the circles in that. Okay, so of course from here you can count the number of circles, and all these things you can like the centers and radius, so you can calculate the number of circles and stuff. You can calculate the circle radius as well, so like this type of things. And this happens like what we did here is this is something what we did for in, if you take an image real time, and this will do real time as well. So this is there in the documentation as well, like when you install MATLAB, this thing comes up. Okay, yeah, I'll come to the volume viewer example as well. So this is something which you can try out if you have to find out the circle stuff. Let's see what yeah, I think that since we have the volume viewer example, maybe I'll actually come up to that as well. So this is what we talked about. We talked about this counting blobs. And then if you are doing things in the application sector, the application sector actually have a lot of different things in the deep learning area, which we mentioned, which you can try out. I'll skip this, but if you need information on deep learning for medical imaging specifically, please let us know. We can discuss with you on that front as well. Okay, so that brings us to the volumetric data part. So that's an interesting example, and the link has already been posted. So we'll take up one example on that. So if you have a different type of medical images, which is a volume data, what can we do on top of that? So I'll go to one example here. The example here is called segment lungs from 3D chest scan, right? So this is also an example which is already there in your documentation, right? So the documentation means, again, it's an example file. So what we are doing here is, this is a sample data set which is there, right? So if you and that's an interesting question also, if you want say a sample data set, right? So if you search here, actually it is shown here, I think. Yeah, so there is a sample data from MathWorks. Whenever you are into MATLAB, there are multiple ways by which you can have different sample data. I think what comes up is yeah, let me just go. So if you want to find out this example in documentation, I think you can just search here chest X-ray stuff, and then this will sorry, let me segment lung. So maybe it will be segment lungs. Yeah, so this one. So if you go to this example, it actually tells you where it exists. So install sample data using the add-on explorer. Now I'll just mention what this thing is. So basically what you can do is inside this MATLAB, if you go to this add-ons, and then if you click on get add-ons, so basically you can get any sort of add-ons as in type of hardware. So if you are into any hardware, like if you want to integrate Arduino, Raspberry Pis, or any other like FPGA board as well, since the HDL question came up. So you can do all this type of things. By the way, there are ways to, you can convert MATLAB code to HDL codes, so that is very much possible. So in this add-ons, you can search for image processing toolbox and then data, right? So if I search for that, then what will come up is, there is this thing called image processing toolbox image data, which is created by us only staff. So you have this data. So feel free to add that, then you will have this type of data which you can play with, right? So that's what we are using here. So we are taking up the data. First of all, this is the chest X-ray data, and this is how it looks like. So we are just normalizing the data first of all. So this option is basically when we want to normalize the data. Now, if I have to see this volume, what I can do is I can go to this volume viewer app. So if I go to apps, and then there is something called volume viewer app here. So this is the volume segment, volume viewer, right? So if I click on volume viewer, so I'll just take up this example here. So inside the volume viewer app, I can go from import volume from workspace, because I already have the data in my workspace, and then click on OK. Right, so these things we are not writing codes here. So I have to change the alpha map here a little bit, because otherwise it's, so here you can see all these things. Like if you have MRI images, then you can use MRI, CT scan, CT for bone, soft tissue, lung, coronary. So these are all options. Maybe I'll just try to zoom in a little bit if you want to see. So there is linear, MRI, CT, bone, soft tissue, and all this stuff, right? So now for this particular one, I'll choose bone, and then you can see how it looks like. Then I can just rotate around. So this is the chest X-ray CT scan data. So you can do this, see this visualization. You can play around with this alpha maps to make it better looking as well. So this is something what you can pretty easily do inside inside this volume viewer app. Again, the advantage is after this you can export this to camera configurations. You don't have to do any manual codings and stuff. So this is very graphical user interface in that way. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to probably do some kind of a segmentation on top of it, right? So if you have to do some kind of a segmentation of it, maybe we want an XY slice and an XZ slice, right? So once we do that, so in this script what we are doing is after we have done that, we want to do some segmentation operation. So what we are doing is we are getting we will go up to the so XY and XZ two segments that we have created, right? So these are two sections, one in XY plane and one in XZ plane. So now what we can do is we can basically go to another app for the segmentation. So if I go again to MATLAB apps and then go to the image segmentation app. So here again you will find there is a image segmenter, right? So I open up the image segmenter app now. So the image segmenter app has come up. The advantage again for all these apps is we don't have to write codes here. So say for example, if I want to not from the file, we can just import from the workspace, because we already have the image in workspace. So I'll take up the XY slice. So once we take up the XY slice here, it will come up here. So here we can see that this image has come up, right? Now what we want to do is we have to do some segmentation operation on top of it. So what we can do here, you can see that there is a threshold stuff. So if I click on thresholding, then this comes up, right? And here we can, there is a global one, there is a manual threshold. So if I click on manual threshold, you can basically change this thresholding value. So if I go all the way, this does not look good. If I just take it, if I move the slider to somewhere like where I'm happy with, right? So this looks like the segmentation has done pretty well. So as long as it can do the segmentation of breaking it up, so you can play around this and then see wherever you are happy. So that's the area which you can be happy with, and then you can click create mask. So then what happens is a mask is already created on top of this. So there are now multiple ways what you can do to refine this mask, right? How can you refine this mask? You can basically, there are all different type of options here, right? So if I go here, you can see that there are bunch of different things which you can do, right? So you can do morphology, you can invert the mask, and so if I click on invert mask, so this gets inverted. Then what I can do is I can clear the borders maybe. So the borders are getting created. So basically whatever we are doing, we are not writing codes, right? So if I want to fill holes, I can click on fill holes, and then that happens. Now remember the morphological operation of erode and dilate. So that also we can do. So if I go to, say for example, morphology, right? So inside morphology, what you can do is you can select an operation of either dilate, erode, or open So if I click on erode, you can select the type you want, the disk diamond line. So remember whatever we did last time. So those were writing code. So you can do the same things in app as well. So it depends on what you want to do. So once we choose the right one, and then do the operation basically, and then you can click on show binary. So basically then the entire thing has happened, right? So like this, after this has done, so you can basically, apply this. The interesting thing is once you have done this, you can go to export, and then you can export this segmented image, or you can click generate function. So if you click generate function, this MATLAB command gets created, and this is auto generated at the current time, like now. So I did not write this code at all. It gets automatically created. So anything you do using the MATLAB apps, that can automatically create the MATLAB code, right? So that's something what you can do. So basically now what we did is we took up an image, we do the segmentation pretty much real time using the Segmentor app. And you can use a batch processor to do this on all images. So that's basically what it is, right? So pretty straightforward, nothing very difficult in that way. And then what you can do is you can again do another sort of things basically. For saving the masked image, you can just export that mask. You can just save the mask. It's just an option there. And once you have created this, there is another thing what you can do. So for example, if I want to calculate the volume of this lung, right, of this thing, so there is an inbuilt command called region props 3. Right, so what region props 3 does, it calculates the number of pixels inside that region, right? And then so that is in pixel, but then after that you can calculate the volume. So if I want to calculate the volume for one of them, and then calculate the volume of two of them, and then add them, so you calculate the volume. So that is also pretty straightforward. You can do. So the command what we are using here is called region props 3. Stop this. I'll show one more example on region props. So region props also helps in all these type of things. Okay. Let me show one example there. So this is what we were doing. Yep. So yeah, please feel free to try this. This always helps. So this is, I mean, just to show that calculation of volume. Like whenever you have this image, there is also the thing we want to do, right? Calculating area, calculating volume, calculating the center of gravity, the centroid, and all these things. So that's something what you can do using this, right? So this is, we are again taking up an image. Let me actually see how the images looks like. So if I say im show a, right, so you'll see the image here. What we want to do is, these circles are there. This is a simpler one. I want to calculate where the statistic, like the analytics part of it, right? So we're just converting that image with black and white image, and then we want to calculate some of the like the centroids of these circles. So then what we are using is this command again called region props. So region props is a very strong command in that way. If you want to calculate like a volumetric information, you can use region props 3, like 3D stuff. And then for like 2D things, you can use just region props. So if I just say region props, and then the stats come up. And inside the stats, you actually get all these things: centroid, major axis length, minor axis length, right? So since this is a circle, you are having the major axis and the minor axis values to be same, like it's a circular thing. But if you have like elliptical stuff, and then you can find out this major axis and minor axis, all these things as well. And then it gives you the centroids and stuff. So basically you can then calculate, like once you have the centroid and all these things, you can always calculate these stuff. And then you can put this commands called vcircles, by which you can actually draw these circles as well on top of this. So you can do segmentation, and after the segmentation, the other option to do is basically doing the analytics part. Like if you want to calculate volumes, areas, the lengths and things, the major axis length, the radius, and things like that. So that's what becomes like pretty easy to do using this one-line commands. Right, hope this becomes useful. Feel free to try all these things out. Just a question on FEA, do you refer to finite element analysis, or what does FEA are you referring to?
Yes, it's finite element
Finite element, okay. Yeah, for finite element, we basically use this. I mean, this is sort of an off-the-topic thing. It's for we can do so there are two ways of doing finite element analysis. Once you have the algorithms, you can write it in MATLAB. right? Write the codings when you have the nodes broken up and then you want to solve this command. So that's one way. The other option is there is something called the partial differential equation toolbox. So the partial differential equation toolbox actually helps you solve any problem in the partial differential spectrum using finite element analysis. So feel free to try that out. So I'm not going to too much detail because that's sort of an off the topic. If you want more information, please feel free to let us know, and then we can discuss separately on finite element. There is a lot of different things which we can do in finite element. So like this type of problems, these problems are solved inside PDE toolbox using the finite element analysis. So it creates a mesh and then it solves the problem as and when required. Like you can make the mesh finer and then solve it basically.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask one more question?
Sure, ma'am.
Can we load the model and do FEA?
Yes, it depends on the type of the model you want to export. There are some constraints on that. But if the model, so basically in MATLAB, there are different forms of formats which are supported for finite element. So maybe you can send us an email and with the type of model you have, and then we can see, because many of the models, yeah, you can export and do finite elements on top of that. But it is also not universal. There are certain limitations. It can do some type of problems like structural, fluidic problems. So there are certain limitations, but yes, it can be done.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Okay, so we have less time, so let's move ahead. So we talked about these type of things, and there are multiple different ways by which you can make things work in terms of if you have big images, right? So if you have big images, you can make certain things which can help you in working. So if you have one of them is called the data store option. So data store is a great option to see image data stores, typically to read images of bigger sizes. Yeah, thanks for the link. Please feel free to go through that link on finite element. That will definitely help you. The other things is, as you can see, there are multiple different stuff which you can do here. And then there is also an OpenCV interface. So if somebody is working on OpenCV, you can also use certain parts of OpenCV, certain parts of MATLAB, because some things, as you can see, these apps and stuff, it becomes easier. And then you can integrate with other things like image processing. How does image processing link with deep learning, image processing with something else, automated driving applications and medical applications. So all these things. So there are ways of doing all these integrations which you can also do. Okay. And then I'll just briefly touch upon for 5 minutes on the computer vision part of it. Now, the difference between image processing and computer vision is image processing is whatever we discussed, and computer vision is basically, understanding the reason behind it. So say, for example, this is the thresholding, and the fact that this is the letter L is sort of a computer vision approach, so that it understands all these things. So for example, if you have this type of, and you can calculate this type of histograms in MATLAB pretty easily, as has been showed in that link. So if you have this type of objects, if you want to do object detections and things, that is also pretty straightforward in MATLAB. There are multiple different type of examples that we already have. I'll just run through one of them. So this thing is, you can see here, there's this cluttered scene, and we want to make sure that we understand where the stapler is in this image. So if I give a image of this, so that it will automatically find out where the stapler is. So what we are doing is we are letting the algorithm understand this is the whole image, and then we are just showing them the stapler box, this text box. So what it does is there is an inbuilt things that we can use commands like detect surf features. So that means it will detect surface features. So it will automatically do that from the image. So from this image, it is detecting these features, right? So once it is detected those features, what it will do is, if I take that original image, and if we want the algorithm to find out where these features exist in our original image, right? So that's something what we are doing. And here basically we are mapping that features. So all these features in the stapler image then gets mapped with the original image. So this is something that branches off to the area of computer vision, where basically we can do object detection. So if we say, for example, if we give an image of like this stapler, and then from a big image, if you want to find out what that specific object is, where that specific object is, we can do these type of things. So this is also not very difficult to write a program because of these inbuilt commands like detect surf features and all. So this detect surf features, it detects features in images. This actually leads to that aspect of machine learning, deep learning, because once we detect these features, we can use these features for machine learning, deep learning application, which I'm not going into because it is a separate event. But if you are doing medical images, because we have as mentioned, we have examples on deep learning for medical images. So if you are interested in those, please reach out to us and we can discuss with you and share relevant resources on that as well. Okay. So that's one aspect of it. I'll just quickly summarize all these things in terms of the next step of code generation and deployment. So once we have done with this image processing and everything, the next step becomes like, there was one question of how do we convert to HDL code. So like HDL, you can do a lot of different other things as well. You can create an app, right? So in MATLAB, there are multiple ways by which, so we talked about the apps which are already existing in MATLAB. There are a bunch of apps that you can create on your own. Right, so there is something in this MATLAB window. There is something called design app, right? So you can create your own app. It's pretty easy. You don't have to know Java coding and stuff. MATLAB coding is fine. So you can create your own app as well, and that app can become a standalone app which can run without MATLAB as well. So you can share with people who can use that app. You can create Excel add-ins. There was one on Kafka integration or something that came up earlier, but you can integrate with all these cloud structures like Hadoop, Kafka, and all these type of things. Okay, so you can do these type of things. The next is you can, as mentioned on that HDL type thing, so you can also generate code for different type of hardware, which can be CPUs, GPUs, FPGAs, right? So FPGAs relate to that HDL, but if you have NVIDIA codes, you can convert. So we have something called GPU. Let me actually show this app here. So basically, inside here, you can see that there is a GPU coder. GPU coder converts any MATLAB code to your CUDA code. CUDA code is for NVIDIA boards. We have done a lot of things with a bunch of research institutes where we have worked with like taking images and putting that on an NVIDIA board or a Raspberry Pi. So that sort of things you can do. So using GPU coder or MATLAB coder generates the C code automatically out of a MATLAB code. So you can target all these processors as well. So all these hardware integrations and the code that comes up is completely validated, optimized for that hardware, and it's ready to use for any industrial application. So that's pretty easy. So you can generate your C++ codes and stuff. There are a bunch of places where all these things have been used. So we have worked with a lot of industries as well as academic institutes where they are using this MATLAB based workflow for image processing in medical devices. So this is one of the areas where it was used for cardiovascular analysis. And one of the things for medical sector, like if you think about doctors and stuff, they don't want to do codings. So these apps and stuff becomes easy for them. So they can generate the codes and things. So that's how it helps in the medical research area. So HDL code came up. So this is like for FPGA development. So this was one of the cases where everything has been done. Then it was deployed on an FPGA board, right? So this was the HDL code which was used. So using that HDL code generation, you can pretty easily use this as well. There are a lot of other things. So this is also one. So if you want more information, these are stories as well. These links you can go and read about this, how this has been done. These are good industry applications, and this also detects some of the academia research and academia curriculum as well, which helps. Okay. So this is what it is. So there is, if you go to this search place of mathworks.com medical, you will find out a bigger detail in medical devices. And you can also see that images is a big integral part of that. So feel free to go through this link. And now for getting started, if you are, many of you are starting up, so there are a lot of different courses in MATLAB, and all these things exist in MATLAB Academy. Right, so if I go into MATLAB Academy .mathworks.com, you can see that these courses are great to get started. Okay, MATLAB On-Ramp. So MATLAB On-Ramp is basically a course that you can do when you have no experience on MATLAB. These are all hands-on tutorials. It asks you to do an assignment, and once you are done, it will it goes to the next assignment and so on. You can see that there is something called image processing On-Ramp. So I'd suggest everybody who has not been accustomed with image processing processing in MATLAB. You can give this for the students to complete before the course as well. This roughly all of this takes 2 hours, and you will get a certificate at the end. Yeah, so the link has already been shared by Mona Lisa. You can see that matlabacademy.mathworks.com. That is the link for this. So please feel free to go through any of these courses, whatever is relevant. So that wherever on-ramp is written, all these courses are free for everybody. And there are institutes who have campus-wide license access. For them, these courses are also there. These are bigger courses, like 14-15 hours. So this image processing with MATLAB is a course of 14-15 hours, and you will get a certificate at the end as well. It takes in much more detail. So this can be used for credits, like a 1-credit course if somebody completes and share the certificates and so on. So like these courses these are all, I'll share the link again because this is very critical. So please feel free to go through them. This always help. Okay, yeah, we are on the top of the hour. I'll end here. So feel free to do the documentation examples, online courses. Please fill up this feedback form. This feedback form is helpful for us. So this is the feedback form. I'll share the link in the chat window as well. And we will share the slides. If you want to have more information on anything, please feel free to reach out to us. And if you want us to get us in touch with you for your research, for your courses, fill up the form and we'll get in touch with you. We will put both our email IDs here inside this chat window. So feel free to reach out to us if you want at any point of time. Yeah, I'll open up top. If anybody has any questions, anything you want to discuss on, feel free to unmute and ask. Thank you. Hope it was useful.
Dear participants, if you have any questions regarding the MATLAB and its usage or the concepts that have been explained, you may please now ask your question to the presenter.
And also thanks for the interactive, like having in between discussion. So that was really helpful. At any point, if you have any other questions, please feel free to unmute and ask. Yeah, please reach out.